Yeah, this is Marty.
Hey, Marty, it's Kyle Woj. Hey, man.
Kyle. Hey, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Kyle, we used to work together at CGI. I don't know if you remember me or not, but do you remember me or no?
Yeah,
Uh, hey,
yeah.
do you-
Um, I'm sorry. No.
oh, oh shit. Okay, well, I was giving you a call because I've seen your podcast and I like what you're doing, and man, really, I like your podcast, and you're doing great with your real estate companies, and I'm seeing your content, and I have my own podcast now. It's stupid, but I was hoping you'd come on the show. Are you open to that at all?
Huh. You know, I'm not against it. I mean, you're kind of calling me out of the blue, and I'm
Uh,
trying to, and I apologize. I'm racking my head trying to think
yeah,
of how I remember you. And what's it all about?
yeah, dude. I apologize for the call out of the blue. So the podcast I got going, it's called Whatever This Is. And what I'm doing is talking to marketers, business owners, entrepreneurs, having a real conversation with people and highlighting their businesses and just having fun with it.
Well, whatever this is, whatever this phone call is, whatever this podcast you're doing, I guess whatever. I'm
You in? Oh, hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Can we do are you what's Thursday looking like for you? Are you free around 4?
four.
4 4
Four-ish?
p.m.
Yeah,
You good with that?
I'm good with that.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, yeah. All right. We'll
Uh,
see what this is or whatever this is.
yeah,
We'll
well,
see.
we can cut whatever you want to cut. Don't worry about it. And listen, I'll send you a link, and we'll go from there. Is that cool?
All right. Sounds good, Kurt.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mark. It's Kyle. Kyle.
All right. See you,
Yeah. All right. All right. Thanks, bud. Thanks. Bye.
Do people think I'm a huge asshole?
Dude, you nailed your part. I'm saying, give this guy the fucking Oscar.
My favorite part my favorite part was just like you not really sure. You're like, yeah, and I don't know, it's stupid.
No, my favorite part was when you went, I was like, do you remember me or no? You're like, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, no.
Ah, yeah, that was funny. No. And then obviously I think we had the cherry on top with the first name going, all right, Kurt, we'll see you later,
I
buddy.
got a lot of Kurt comments. A lot of Kurt comments.
Yeah, that
Well,
was me.
you said you're not. Well, first of all, Marty Grizzanti is the guest on the show today, folks. This is a real podcaster I have. So, Marty,
Yeah.
give me any notes that you have along the show.
Well, I already got a nice tally going of,
Yeah.
a performance review of like
Okay.
big changes that need to be made. Okay. Huge.
Yeah, we'll go over that off camera.
Thank you. Looking
So you
forward
said
to
you're
that.
not well. What's going on?
No, I'm well. My podcast is not well. I'm homeless with my podcast right now.
Right.
I don't have a studio, and I had been doing it previously from my house, but having a 2-year-old, it doesn't work. He wants to know where daddy is, and he wants to come down there, and I love it, but at the same time, we're working with these $6 headphones from Wegmans and my office in
The headphones that you just went out and bought. You texted me you were going to be late.
yeah, because I was like, oh, my son just woke up from his nap. It's not going to be, if he sees me, he's just going to go bananas. And so
Get him on the pod.
anyway,
Let's get him on the pod.
I need him. Yeah, I think he should be a full-time guest. Just kind of always be in there. I think he can add a lot to it, and I think we'll
We'll
do that.
see. We'll run through a trial period. No, congrats, man. It's been a long time since we've properly caught up. So congrats on
Oh,
the
thanks,
baby.
man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate
Very
that.
happy for you. Well, listen, where do we start, right? Where do we start this thing? So look, I don't know if I ever told you this in person, but for the folks that don't know, me and Marty used to work together at CGI, and this is a sales machine, folks. I don't know if you know this, I'm sure you do, but you were used as like the case study, like the recruiting case study for me when I was on my interview. They were like, "Oh, we got this kid, Marty Grizzanti. He's crushing it. He's a young guy like you. You're gonna love him. But listen, you could do as well as Marty." Like you were the case study. So of course, getting to meet you and become friends with you, it was so funny just because you'd gotten so you'd been so hyped up and you did really well at CGI Communications. And I want to maybe toss it to you, and you could probably explain better what CGI is and what the culture was and what the atmosphere was. And why don't we start there?
Well, thanks for the kind words. That's very nice of you. And I never
Right.
got paid. I never got paid for any of that. Example, you being used as an example. But no, CGI was great. You were treated very well if you did very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shocker, shocker, right? Does maybe that's not always the right way of doing things, but it was their way of doing it, and they've had a lot of success doing it that way. But I don't have any. I actually have mostly good things to say.
Me too.
Uh, yeah, I mostly have good things to say. But CGI
Yeah.
Communications was an online advertising company, everything from search engine optimization to videos to, helping out with reputation management. And I was lucky enough to be on like the ground floor of that pivot from just video to reputation management, SEO. When 2011, that was very new. People were still heavy in the yellow pages. So it was really a simple sale going, look, when's the last time you opened up Yellow Pages to look for a dentist in Rochester, New York? Well, I haven't. Well, why are you advertising as a dentist in the Yellow Pages? That's a good point. And then boom, boom, boom. And so you were able to kind of use those big changes. Obviously, mobile was something that was in 2011, 2012 new, and people were using their smartphones and everything, and obviously it got a lot crazier, but it I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. When did you leave CGI?
I believe it was 2017.
And then just to set even more context for people, very sales focused organization. Sales is the lifeblood of any organization, but they really shone the spotlight on the salespeople, and they were the stars of the show. That was a company where I was able to get my foot in the door in a marketing agency because I was a marketing major, and I wasn't able to get a job as a marketer, like doing the marketing. So I figured next best thing, go into an agency, do the sales thing, and become friends with the account management people who were actually doing the marketing. So they were
Yeah.
able to show me what they were doing and then kind of leverage that into my next job in an agency doing account management. But yeah, as you mentioned, they sold SEO, reputation management, digital marketing services. There's a sales associate who's kind of like the entry level person who would set appointments for the sales executive, which is what you were. And the sales associate, it's cold calling and it's making your dials. You're naturally you got some riz, as the kids call it, charisma. So you're good on the phone, but they do run you through the gamut of sales training, which I thought was great. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. We would all get into a room. I actually have a core memory of getting into a room and listening to recordings and listening to one of your recordings, where one of the sales tactics was like, if they ask for the price or when you give the price, don't say anything after that, right? Do you still believe that's the case? Because I've seen these sales like gurus on Instagram debunk that as a sales tactic, but I think that's a pretty widely known sales tactic. Give the price and just shut up, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where the first person that talks loses, and it's
Yeah.
true. It's true
Do you
because then
think
you
so?
start, yeah, I do. And all the stuff works. It all works. I think a lot of it was, really believing in the product. I was lucky. I really believed in it. I knew it
Yeah.
worked. My clients actually renewed, right? Like I was
Yeah.
really, so that was helpful. And then this isn't going to save your life, but if out of 1 out of 10 was pushed because of technique to a sale, well, you know, you don't have to hit 100%, but you need to hit 30%, and then you're a 300 hitter, and you can make a good living if you're selling 3 out of 10 businesses. But if you were only 2 out of 10, well, now you're a 200 hitter, and you're never going to be, you're not in the Hall of Fame. But if you hit 300, you're in the Hall of Fame. So it doesn't take much to get and turn that into a yes, but the right technique, asking the right questions, the tie downs, those are all important, especially over the phone. And I did 99% of my sales was over the phone.
Do you remember all of the tactics that they taught us, like third party stories?
Yes.
Do you still use that?
Yes, absolutely.
Do
Third
you?
party stories is one of the most important
What's a
aspect
third
of
party
selling.
story? Tell us what that is.
Yeah, third party story is you are talking as like the mouthpiece of somebody else. So for instance, I was talking to my partner Matt McGuckin, and he said, Marty, I'm tired of you getting on podcasts. I need you to start working. This is such a waste of time, and I don't know what you're doing for the company. And I'm sure like that, Kyle, like Matt, you're probably thinking podcasts are a big waste of time too. Am I right? No, but that's essentially the third party story is, you didn't hear Marty talking, you heard Matt talking. And why third party is so important is because when you're selling something, you don't necessarily believe me, right? I'm the salesperson,
Yeah.
but I'm in a third party, typically my client, that if you're a dentist in Rochester, I'm going to use my dentist in Syracuse as the third party. You're going to believe them, but I'm going to tie you down like I did at the end there saying, and just like, Dr. Smith in Syracuse, I'm sure like you, Dr. Kyle, you would still want X, Y, and Z. Is that right? Right. Great. Now move on. Right. So, but yeah, you're just talking through somebody else.
Yeah, it's social proof, right?
Yeah. Again, it really just comes down to like, by the way, I really had the stories, right? And if you don't have them, there might be somebody in your industry that does. So like if you're new and you're like, well, I don't have any third parties. I don't have any clients. Well, I'm sure there's somebody you did a project for, or there was somebody that that you did a free project for, or whatever. You just got to be able to use some sort of example to make that person go, okay, yeah, I don't really necessarily believe you, just because it's human nature not to like really trust or really believe your salesperson. But I definitely trust the person you were talking about because I know that they've gone through a similar experience, and now, boom, you're starting to get closer and closer and closer together on the sale process.
So yeah, we did primarily most of the sales virtually, as you mentioned. Did you
Yeah.
like going on premise?
No, I did not like going on
Did you do?
premise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like flying. I didn't like traveling. I wish I did, but I just didn't. I like being able to control my destiny. So when you were talking about, in most sales organizations, there's somebody that when you start off, you're setting the appointments, you're cold calling, and I enjoyed doing that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but I really enjoyed like the stuff that was really based on effort. Like rarely are you ever just good at something. It's through the reps that you get good at something and then you start to like it. Like everybody always hates the initial start of something, right? Going to the gym, learning to cook, whatever it might be, learning a new topic, learning a language. You're like, I don't really like this. But then when you get good at it or through the reps, then you go, oh, I like this because now I'm good at it, right? And it also doesn't hurt that, you get some social love from people in your organization going, wow, this kid's, making $400 instead of the 100 that, we asked them to make. So doing more, by the way, by doing more, get faster at getting better, crazy as that sounds. And so, those are the little things that help me, and I'm sure have helped you when you started your business, just kind of doing the things that nobody wanted to do and
Yeah.
just doing the reps to get you better. And then as you gotten better, you started to enjoy it more.
Yeah. I mean, and like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, he's still an execution guy in the sense that he's still doing all his social media posts for how big he is and how big of a team he has. He primarily still writes the copy, does the creative direction, like he's in the trenches. You got to be doing the thing, right? You got to be in the trenches.
Yeah, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. You can't just pass it off to somebody. The most important things are in sales, especially were the phone calls and making the connections, and you can't really pass that off. Any money making opportunity, or the revenue generating, opportunities, is really the most important thing, and it's really tough to hand those off. I'm still not willing to hand those off.
So you said you left around 2017 CGI and you started Suplex. Were you still doing some real estate investing on the side, or like how did you get into it? It's a family thing or
2016 is when we started Suplex Properties.
okay.
And my partner Matt was also at CGI. I got him to
Yeah.
come to
Shout out to
CGI.
Matt.
Yeah, shout out to McGuckin. Got him to come to CGI, and very similar. We were in the sales and doing what we were doing well, and then just bought a property. And we had an unfair advantage. My brother-in-law, or my it wasn't my brother-in-law at the time, but who became my brother-in-law. He was a property manager, so really was able to point us in the right direction. And from that point, he basically said, here's a house to buy that, it was like $24,000 at the time, and it was all our money combined, Matt and I. And we just bought it. It's a funny story with that. We thought we could get a mortgage on it. It was a tax foreclosure, and if you're in real estate, you can't get a mortgage on a tax foreclosure. It has to be a cash deal. So basically, at closing, what we thought was going to be like, a 10% more, 10% down type of mortgage with, whatever that would be monthly. We needed all our money, so we had to end up calling our financial, Northwest Mutuals at the time, whoever it might have been, taking all our money out of that, and then bought the house, and then so just because we were
Really?
so worried. Yeah, we were so worried about making sure we were making a good first impression. You always hear like if you don't do a deal, your reputation goes around pretty quickly. If you like pull out last minute, you don't want
Totally.
that type of rep. So long story short, we did close, and the rest is history.
So was that first deal a success for you guys?
Was it a success? Yes. We bought it, had a renter in there, great lady, and it was going great for maybe like 2 years. And then they moved out, and then we didn't do like a full screening on the next tenant, and they took us for a ride for like 2 years. And that was like starting to be like I think COVID was starting at that point too. And then we basically went to go flip it when they left, and then like right when it was about to be done, someone had broken in and installed the copper. So then we had to go in and
Yeah.
redo a bunch of stuff to it. But
Jesus.
it's just but that, it all sounds like terrible, but like as you're going through it day by day, you just keep moving forward, and you're like, all right, like I know it's gonna work out. Like I've had wins over here. This is not a win, but yeah, overall it was a win because we learned a lot.
But so I guess we should back up. So Suplex Properties, you started flipping houses, yes?
Yes.
And now you guys have moved on expanded into commercial properties and even doing your own construction. Walk me through like how you've structured the company, how you built it. You started with Matt, who great guy. So yeah, so how did all that get started? Obviously with that first deal, I know you guys did a bunch of flipping of houses, and I remember seeing all the stuff you were putting out on social media. So how did you guys get started with Suplex? What was kind of the vision, and where are you at now?
So Suplex started. We were wrestlers in high school.
Oh yeah, good Suplex, yeah.
And yeah, and we
So
were
you knew
like,
Matt in high school?
I knew of him. I didn't know him, but he was a wrestler, and I knew he wrestled, and we would work out at the same gym. Like we started to become friendlier later on in college time. Like I played rugby, and his brother played rugby, and so like I would talk to his brother. His brother was 2 years older, and
Okay.
then I knew of Matt, obviously, because wrestling's such a small world. And then he was talking to me about CGI. He's like, "Hey, I'm looking at either working at this construction company or CGI." And I just told him, how it's been for me. And then I basically got him to come to CGI, and then he became a top 5 guy. I think he was a number 2 guy at one point. Long story short, Suplex Properties, we bought the one, and we really focused on, a lot of people have a hiccup going from 1 to 2 on their rental properties. And so what we did is we really focused on OPM, or other people's money. And that's hard money or private investing, or really just selling yourself and saying, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to buy these houses. I'm going to use your money to buy it. And then I'm going to
Yeah.
refinance it or sell it. And then in that window of time, as I'm holding your money, I'm going to pay you, 9, 10% every month. And oh, by the way, your money is going to have a first lien on the property. So worst case scenario, I die, you can take the property back, right? And I've already made all the upgrades to it. So it wasn't like a super hard sale, because again, it's your money's backed up by a piece of property, which is one of the best things you could ever be backed up on. We end up buying a lot of rental properties. 2017 is when we really started flipping houses, and going from like 1 to 2 a year to 25 a year, started to really ramp up. And then you're really figuring out, and Matt is that. So how it breaks down is he's the guy that runs the construction crew, runs the guys. We have a team of employees that he's managing, and he's the boss. I'm really more of the inside guy, doing making sure insurance and all those things are taken care of, and marketing and advertising, and I run our sales team, because we work with a team of virtual salespeople that help us with our
Okay.
calling and digital strategy on our AdWords and all those things. And I find the deal, we bring it together, Matt runs it out, and we're really lucky. His wife Amber is also a big part of the team, because she is designing the flips. She's an agent, so she's selling our flips. and helping us find new deals as well. And so that's one part of it. And then I'm also the property manager. Matt is as well, but I'm really more of like the day to day property manager because of our portfolio. And then in the industrial side, because we have a large industrial portfolio of warehouse space, and that's kind of all hands on deck because you're not getting as much. It's not as much day to day management because you got businesses in there and the leases are longer and they're usually more on the hook for minor stuff. So unless it's major, they're calling us, which you don't tend to get often. Knock on wood. And then we have a construction division that we're just starting now, where we're doing a lot of third party construction. So our flip team, they got really really good at doing a kitchen, a bathroom,
Yeah.
floors, paint, all that. We noticed that just so many people are getting ripped off, and it's not good stuff either. Where we're like, look, everybody wants what we have. Everybody loves our flips. Everybody's talking about them. Why don't we just do this for other people? And that's been going great.
Dude, I feel like the marketing that you put into those flips and showing the befores and afters must have directly contributed to where you're at now with everyone knowing about the flips, loving the flips, because you were sharing such great photos of the before and afters. Would you say the social media aspect? I'm curious, does it bring in work for you? Does it bring in referrals? Or is it more just about you can't really attribute it, but you know that it's something that's good?
I think we've never really done a lot with B2C, right? Like we never really went to the consumer. It was a lot of like business to business. Even when you're buying a flip or a rental, it's a different game where you're reaching out to people that you think want to sell. And
Right.
that's more of like that is direct to consumer in a way, but people coming to you typically, if they have a flip to sell, doesn't usually happen. You really gotta meet them where they are. And why I say that is because we're usually dealing with a painful situation in that when you see a house that looks like that,
Yeah.
usually something went wrong, right? Usually somebody must have been, maybe mentally ill. There might have been a problem with, there was a death in the family and they're not proud of the way the property looks. Very rarely do you just kind of organically get those types of folks. You kind of have to find that. And we do that through our own proprietary software that we have that we can figure out, okay, let's at least let them know that there's other options because some people will just bury their head in the sand and just their house gets taken away or whatever. And you still want to give them their best opportunity to, put money in their pocket instead of just having the
Mhm.
bank take it, right? Or having the
Yeah.
county take it. So, but to your question, I believe in it. I believe that it gives us a lot of credibility, and that's through we've gotten a lot of people that have, investors have been willing to work with us because they've seen what we've done, right? It's not
Yeah.
a fly by night thing at this point, and it's never been, but they've seen evidence. There's evidence that shows, hey, these guys really do the work. And it takes you as a business owner a while to actually believe, it might have taken us 20 flips before I was like, all right, we can really do this.
Mhm.
And that's my own issue, right? That's my own mental problem. But but number one, credibility. When you're raising money, people want to know who you are and what you've done in the past. And you can Google my name, and that's really nice. You can just Google my name, and you're going to see mostly good things, right? You're going to see videos, and you're going to get to know me. And a lot of people, that's one of the nicest things is that people typically, when I meet them, if it's through an investment meetup or whatever, they've already kind of seen things about me. They know me before I know them. And so that having that ability where people know you before you know them is very powerful.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Especially for me, who doesn't really know a lot about the real estate investing business. I'd like to build up a little portfolio as well. But you mentioned before about using other people's money to go acquire properties. How did you go about doing that and finding investors and finding limited partners? Was it just through those investing networking groups that you belong to, or did you already know real estate investors going into your business, or how did you approach that?
Yeah, that's one of the tougher things is like, all right, I like those properties, but obviously, you only have so many resources to buy a property. And
Right,
we were buying without any money, right? And how you do that is you got to find a really good deal
right.
because the lender, while it's important that you're going to do what you say you're going to do, the lender's looking at the property because the property is what's actually their money is being tied to. It's not me, Marty Grizzanti. Now they're believing in me as the horse, right? I'm going to be the jockey that they bet on, but they really like the property to go, all right, if you screw this up, I'm at least going to get this property that I really like, right? So you want to find good, solid deals. That's really how. But there's literal people, there's literal businesses that run every day that feed their families based on lending their money to real estate investors. Part of it is just being educated that that's an option, right? And knowing that people literally need you in order to survive. So they need investors that are willing to go through, flipping a house or renting a property. They don't want to do that, but they want their money to work for them, and they want it to work through a real estate instrument. Okay, now you know that it's about the deal, and it's also that people actually need to do this to lend to you. So now you get a little more confident to be like, all right, I can do this too. Like, just need to find that deal. And now you go, all right, well, what's the next step? Well, the next step is typically, if you're brand new, you start, number one, you already should be educated at this point. Like, we're not even going to go there. Like, you got to be reading your books and listening to podcasts, understanding it. But where you really start to learn is by going to meetups and going to networking events and talking to people who've already done it. Like, what are they doing? And then you start working and understanding, well, how do you find a deal and what makes it a deal? I think one of the problems that beginners have is like, what is a deal? And so you go through that maturity, and as you're doing that, you want to have a team together, right? You start working on, all right, who's a real estate attorney, who's a investor specific realtor who, when they have something, they might be able to present me the opportunity. I think this is a really good time. I think 2025 and beyond is going to be a really good time to find deals. There's a lot of deals out there right now on
Yeah.
the MLS. There's a ton of deals. Now you gotta sort through a lot of the crap, but there's definitely diamonds in the rough in there, and you got to find them, and you got to be willing to like endure some pain because you're gonna make some mistakes along the way. But if you're willing to do that, the sky's the limit. Truly, I think that.
So Marty, can you walk through like how do you as a seasoned real estate investor, how do you analyze a deal? First of all, how do you find a good deal and analyze it and break that all down? And then like how would a more novice beginner real estate investor go about analyzing a deal, finding a deal like probably on the MLS? Or is it like, the driving for dollars thing? Like I've listened to a couple of those like
Yeah,
what was it? What's the bigger pockets?
yeah, yep. Bigger
Yeah,
pockets.
I've
That's where I
listened
learned. Yep.
yeah, I listen to a lot of their podcasts. I think isn't the one girl that hosts one of the beginner podcasts? I think she like lives in Buffalo. One of the girls.
Yeah, yep, yep. Now I haven't really done as much with the bigger pockets recently because I used to listen to it. Like, I remember when I was at CGI and I'd
Long
be
time
on
ago.
premise and I'd be driving and I'd be listening to them. And like,
Okay.
I can't believe people can leave their job and go full time real estate. Right? It was all crazy. A lot of it's just believing you can do it. A lot of it's just mindset. Like, hey, Marty did it, and he is dyslexic, and
Is
it's
that true?
truly. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like can't
I know that.
connect thoughts properly. That's one of the reasons why I wasn't as good at sales. I would just kind of like whimsically talk.
What do you, dude? You were a beast.
Well, I worked really hard, and then I still looked at a script my entire career. I had a script my entire career. I had to read it word for word because I would get lost if I started just trying to. I didn't have like the gift of gab. Like people didn't. That's why I didn't do very well in premise because I needed my script. That's why I really focused. I literally needed the words. You can tell I'm pretty animated, so I can theatrically sell, but
Yeah.
I needed the actual words, and then I would put it together. So anyway, that's another story. But you got to believe that you can do it, number one, and then you just got to be around people that have already done it. You got to let it seep in you if you really want it, right? I mean, this is all stuff if you really want it. And I was willing to do that. I was willing to look stupid. I was willing to make mistakes. I was willing to ask stupid questions, and that's all stuff you need to do in order to be successful. In order to be the master, you got to look like an idiot, to get there. So I did that. But yeah, how do I look at a deal now? It's completely different, right, from when I first started. But I think here's
Right.
what I'll say. Here's what I'll say, because I don't want to get all crazy on what I do and what you would do when you're starting. First things
Get
first.
crazy. Let's get in the weeds.
The
We can
first thing
edit
I
out
would.
anything we want.
No, that's fine. I look at deals that are, if I'm looking at single family houses, right? What I'm going to look
Yeah.
at is, number one, do I want to have a property there, right? Like, I think if you're starting off, you should avoid those class D type properties. What I would try to find is on the MLS, I would try to just make offers. Like if something's listed for 100, I would make an offer at 70. Like I'm
Okay.
automatically going to just cut right from the beginning. And you have to be willing to have people go, you know, you are lowballing me. You're a scumbag, right? You kind of you have to. You have to.
Right.
Because there's going to be people that go, you know what? I haven't got an offer. I really need to sell. I'll sell. And you know, not every time that happens, but 1 out of 50 it will. And so you get in the reps. There's like these reps, like going to the gym. You go into the gym of making offers of like, all right, I made my 5 offers today. I didn't get anything, but I'm going to the gym. I'm making the reps. I'm doing my reps. I'm doing my reps, and I'm doing my reps. And all of a sudden something hits. And then, believe it or not, it happens very quick. You know, I really believe that you know we underestimate how far we can go in a a year, but we overestimate how far we can go in 5 years. Or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like shit can get crazy in 5 years, like
Yeah.
really crazy. You can build a really big portfolio in 5 years. You can build a big company in 5 years, but you're not going to build a big company or a big portfolio in 1 year. Anyway, what I would do
Yeah.
if you're first starting off is I would drive for dollars. That's exactly what I would do. I would drive neighborhoods, zip codes that are hot. Like in Rochester, it's 14609. In Buffalo, I don't know. It's Elmwood. Is that normal?
Like
What's a good stretch?
Elmwood Village is good. I think like what's popular now with younger people is like the first ring suburbs, like Kenmore,
Kenmore.
North Buffalo, you know, like 14217, 14223. Yeah.
1/4. Okay, so I would. Another thing, real quick. Innately, people think that everyone's doing this,
Right.
right? No one's doing this, by the way. Just so you know, like you always think, well, someone's already doing this. They're gonna get the deal. No, it's not how it works. It's really not. Very rarely have I ever competed with anybody that's doing what I'm doing in Rochester. Very, very rarely at all. Is it between me and like a big time flipper? You know, if we're one of the biggest, which we probably are, am I competing with another person that's like that? It doesn't happen often because I'm staying in my lane. I'm going, all right. When I first started out, like if we're just talking about beginners, you're driving that 14609, which is in Rochester. I'm writing down houses that look vacant. I'm writing down houses that have high grass. I'm writing down houses that, you know, the trash is not out. All those things. And then I'm calling them. I'm doing the stuff that typically nobody wants to do so that I can get to places that nobody can go, right? Because I'm doing stuff that's tough. And I'm willing to look dumb. I'm willing to get punched in the face verbally, right? And say, no, we're not selling. Like, don't call me. But
Yeah.
I get a lot of people that go, yeah, I'm interested in selling. Well, thank you for calling. Like I'm ready to go. And that's how you can really you can build a nice portfolio, and it doesn't take long. It really doesn't take long.
So you drive for dollars, you write down addresses that the house maybe looks a little dilapidated, grass isn't cut.
You mail it. Write down, hey,
Yeah.
my name is Kyle. I am very interested in starting my real estate career. Be honest with people. I mean, that's the best thing you can honestly do. People want to help people that are honest. I'm starting off my real estate career. I was just curious if you ever would entertain an offer on your property. That's it. Phone number,
Dude.
boom, send it.
Okay.
And you only got to do 5 of those. If you say, hey, I'm going to do 5 of these a week, right? 1 a day. On a weekend, you go drive, you find 5. You look them up, write it down. While you're doing that, you're making calls to agents, and you make 5 calls a week to an agent and say, hey, I'm Kyle. I'm really excited about my marketing company. I'm not here to talk about that. I want to talk about real estate. If you find something that needs work or it's a good rental, I'd be really interested. You know, keep me in mind. And then start building relationships with those people. You have to actively want to, though. It's not one call to Sandy Bradley in Rochester and say, hey, I know you work with a lot of investors. I'd like to work with you too. It's, hey, Sandy, it's Marty again. Just calling. I'm on my drive. Oh, what do you do? You're driving for dollars again? Yeah, I'm driving for dollars. Oh, what are you finding out there? Oh, I just saw this duplex. It looked good. Oh, where is it? And now all of a sudden you got conversations, and now you're starting to have a friend. And then the friend wants you to do well. You know, friends want you to do well. So you want to have friends in the business. But yeah, I would start there.
Do you literally just call them and be like, hey, like, you interested in selling? Or do you have to go into a script? You don't really have to do that? Okay.
No, I just, hey, just curious. Would you ever be open to an offer? I'm not asking them if they're interested in selling. No one's ever really interested in selling, but everyone's interested in an offer. Everyone's open to an offer. Or, hey, you know, if we want to get real technical, right? If we want to get really into the weeds, it's, hey, would you be against? an offer on your property. No one's ever against, you know what I mean? Like, are you against a meeting? It's hard to say I'm against a meeting.
Right.
Are you against me presenting you an offer for your property? No, I'm not
I
against
get it.
it. Yeah, I'm
Little,
not
little.
against it. But it's those little things that kind of like keep the conversation going. Obviously, in sales, it's all rapport. Hey, it's nice now that I can say, hey, I have a property right by you. I love this neighborhood. Kyle, I got to give you credit. You bought this property. I can see from, back in 2010. What a great time to buy a property, man. You were really heads up play on that, huh? Yeah, it was a good. I'm
Yeah.
glad I did it. Or I'm not glad I did it. Whatever they're going to say, it's fine. It's just like, well, I love that area. I am really excited about it. I would love to grow in that area. Would you be against an offer on the property? And you just do those a bunch of times. And like I get it when you're first starting how like crazy this sounds and like, wow, there's so much to do and I don't know how. You muddy through it. You just muddy. You bloody through it. You bruise through it. And all of a sudden it's not so bad. It's like it always goes back to going to the gym. Like you see all these people working out and you're like, I don't know how to do this. This technique is all crazy, but you're on YouTube and you're studying, you're listening to sales processes, you're understanding how deals get analyzed. It's the stuff it's just the work. It's really all it is. It's just putting the time in.
Yeah. So when you like first started and you got your first 20 or so flips, were those all just fix and flips and then like sell them, or did you do short-term rental? Did you hold on? Did you do long-term rental, Airbnbs, like a mix of all of it? Or what was your primary like strategy when you acquired your first several properties?
When we were buying a lot in a certain area of the city and we would hold them, right? Like we were holding a lot. So a lot of times when you look at real estate, especially if you're brand new, people say, you start out wholesaling and then you flip and then you buy long term.
Okay.
Because we were in a unique situation where we had great W-2s, we were able to buy first and hold first, right? So we were coming at it at a different angle. Like I said, 99% of the time when you go online and you learn about real estate, beginners are always like, I'm wholesaling first, I'm going to go flip, and then I'm going to buy and hold. We bought and hold number one so that we could really understand, being a landlord and what that all entailed. You start to learn the people skills and the construction and what the city regulations are and all those things. And then as you start to understand what a deal is, because you're not going to buy a great deal your first property typically. You're going to buy a great deal maybe your fifth. You just buy, you don't want to lose money on the first couple that you buy. And then, you on a flip, you need to buy it so much below market value, right? So on a flip, the math is really like basically your ARV, which is your after repair value. So if let's just get even numbers, $100,000 is what something should sell for after you're done with the repairs. You're
Right.
going to automatically times that by 0.70. Okay. So now, even before repairs are done, you need to get this house for 70. So, like for instance, if you're in a neighborhood and every house is 100 grand, okay, now I know that's not now, but $100,000 neighborhood. Well, if you see a house there that you'd want to flip or own as a rental, you need to get that for 70 grand just off the bat. So that's how you make money flipping.
Yeah.
And that's not simple. Those are few and far between right now in this day and age. It wasn't so much 2017, 18, 19, but after COVID, it got really, really tough if you didn't have a off-market strategy. So a lot of people in my industry didn't have an off-market strategy. We did. All we did was do off-market because we didn't have the name in the industry. We were newer, right, at 2018, right? So we had to only work off-market deals. And that's where I was talking about you're dealing with a lot of painful situations because I'm the first one there. I'm the first one that's dealing with that situation, probate, divorce, bankruptcy, whatever it might be, foreclosure. And I'm there to guide them on, hey, here are your options. And I always tell them, most times, I'm not your best option. Your best option would be to fix this up yourself and then sell it with an agent.
Okay.
But obviously, people don't want to work with agents for whatever reason, or they need to sell within like a certain time, or they lose their house, whatever it might be. So, you really just finding an off market, having an off market strategy is what was the separator for us and everybody else.
So are you still holding on, or do you still have a lot of your first several flips that you guys have done?
But any of our rentals that we bought in the
Rentals, yeah.
beginning, we have a few of them. Yeah, we have a
Okay.
few of them. We started selling a bunch this year. They're appreciation, the big pop that occurred everywhere. On similar to Buffalo in 2015, 16, 17, you could buy a $50,000 house, and there was a lot of them. There was a ton of
Yeah.
$50,000. There was a lot of $30,000 houses in Rochester, $20,000 houses in Rochester that are now worth 130. So we were able to sell those off recently, but we held for 7-8 years, and then had to deal with the consequences of holding in certain areas that are
Yeah.
$20,000 houses.
Yeah,
So
because I was gonna add. Oh, sorry. I heard you on one of your podcasts. You said you really pay attention to the macroeconomics and the overall economy and that impact on the real estate market. So how did you determine that now 2025 was a good time to sell? Was it just that they were going up so much, so you were like, "Yep, let's get out of them and let's focus more on, your commercial side of things"? How did you determine that?
yeah, we don't want to hold these forever. We don't want to hold single family
Yeah.
houses forever. There's nothing bad about single family houses. It's just there's management, there's a lot of management involved, and with regulations and rules, and mostly just that you don't have full control over property anymore. In New York State, with the landlord laws, you really don't have full control, and I can give you millions of examples. But basically, I didn't like that. I don't have I can't just sell something tomorrow. If I have a tenant in there and, they're causing issues, like I have a duplex, right? And one side's really great and one side they're doing bad things, like let's say selling drugs. If they're paying rent, I can't necessarily get them out. I have to give them 90 days, right?
Yeah.
So what happens in that 90 days? Well, I can tell you, the good tenant will leave. And so now not only do you have, a vacant unit, well, now you have a problem property. And so 90 days is a long time for things to get worse in a
Mhm.
property. So I don't love that. So that's why we started pivoting to commercial, because I want to work with businesses. I want to work with people who they need this space to provide for their family. And that's the type of person I want to work with. That's the type of person that I can grow with. That's the type of person that I resonate with. So, that was part of the reason of that. And obviously the appreciation, lack of housing, Rochester being the hottest, Rochester, Buffalo being the hottest market in the nation, it
Yeah.
became it became like, all right, let's just if we're gonna get rid of them anyway, we might as well do it now.
What are some can you give some horror stories about you've had to do several evictions, it sounds like,
Sure.
and you've had squatters, yes?
Oh, sure. I got one right now. I bought a house
Come
from a
on.
lady. Yeah, great lady. And we go in to do the and this is why you always do a final walkthrough. I fudged up here, but I bought the property. The lady had moved out, and her, alcoholic son is still there. He never left, and he's not leaving. So he's a squatter. We don't have a lease, or, he's not renting from his mom, but she was like, good luck. So that's not great. And so, yeah, we're dealing with that. I mean, we just gave a 90-day notice to somebody. We bought their property, and, we're given 90 days. Like, hey, we got to get in here. It's not fit for people right now. Like a lot of times it's just like, look, I just bought this house. It needs so much work. It's not right. Someone's living here. There's so many better housing opportunities than this. And that's easy for me to say. And I understand that. But the reality is that it's not a good property right now. It's not safe. We need to get in there and do a full gut remodel on it. And so, but they're not leaving. So I got to go through the process of getting them out. And they're going to thank me, mentally they'll thank me in a year, 2 years from now. They're not going to thank me personally, but they'll be like, I'm glad I got out of that situation, because if I'm living in a fucking shithole. But again, yeah, I mean, I got millions of these. We walked out on a dead body. I mean, it's
Come
bananas.
on,
Oh
what?
yeah. Yeah.
The no shit.
Oh yeah, yeah. We bought a 3 unit in Rochester, and long story short, it was unfortunately it was a drug situation. That's how they passed away. But the whole 3 units, we bought it from from this landlord who wasn't taking care of it. And one of the tenants said that this gentleman hadn't gone to the mailbox in a few days. So, we called the cops, and we all go out there on a Monday, and I think it was it might have been 4 or 5 days at this point that this gentleman had passed. And yeah, we walked right in there, and you don't forget that smell.
God damn, dude, that is wild.
It's
All
crazy,
the
man.
unintended things that you never thought you'd see getting into real estate investing, right?
We're all human. We all have our issues, and you learn a lot about people in real estate. You learn a lot about, just all different tiers of folks and, basically just how people get by and, take care of themselves. A lot of the issues is that if you have a problem property or even an issue with your property, you typically have an issue with yourself, right? If you don't care about yourself and you don't, take responsibility for yourself and the actions, what's the likelihood you're going to have a clean house? Not
Right.
very likely. So, but that's a lot of people out there, and I've met a lot of them.
Yeah, man, that sounds like just so much work. But the pivot to more of a focus on commercial. So what does that look like? I mean, I don't really know much about that side. I don't really know much about really any side, but I know that I've seen a few videos that you put out and so do you guys basically acquire warehouses and try to find tenants? I know one of the spaces you were advertising for, you were trying to get like a brewery or a commercial kitchen in there or something like so.
Yeah.
How do you think about that whole side of your business? And because I'm interested, I really don't know much about it at all.
Finding tenants is obviously a really long process because if you think about how it might take a month for somebody to sell a house to the right family, well, a business space, how long would it take to find that perfect business that might fit that space? It could take a year, it
Mm,
could take 2
yeah,
years. So, holding costs are different, repair costs are different. It's just a completely different world. It's not something that people should just jump into. It's a rich person's game. Commercial real estate's a rich person's game. We're not rich, but we have been able to find deals. That's our separator, is that we can find the right deal because a lot of people will buy commercial real estate for the tax advantages, right? So that's why when I say it's a rich person game, because rich people typically buy commercial real estate to
yeah,
offset their tax consequences. But if you're trying to make money in commercial, you have to be very, very good at it. And that's what's so hard if you're trying to pivot into it for the first time. You have to, in order to actually be successful, find really good deals and then find the tenants that are going to take that, space. Because with commercial, unlike residential, the asset is the tenant. The liability is the real estate. In residential, the asset is really, the asset, the house, and the tenant is the liability. But that's completely different in commercial. So you just got to get really. We're not there yet. Throwing
okay,
it out there. I mean, we're learning. We're learning the hard way, and just like in residential, we're muddying through, and we're bruised and bloody. But we know it's the path that we want to go in long term because of scalability, the people that we want to work with. I'm passionate about helping businesses, and it segues from CGI from helping businesses grow their business through
yeah,
online advertising, helping a business grow by being a quote unquote housing provider for a business. It gets me amped up. I love it. I love when people are amped up, coming to our building, going, "This is perfect. Like this is what we need in order to be successful." So that's what drives me. But it's a learning curve for us. We're figuring it out every day. It's constant, just trial and error.
what kind of tenants are you looking for in some of your properties right now? Do you have any in mind that what might be ideal for a space that you have, or how do you look at that? And do you have any space available right now? Let's plug it. If there's someone
Let's plug
listening,
it. Yeah, absolutely. I have 12,000 square feet in Batavia that I think would be great for either trucking, any sort of contractor. It was previously a Han welding, so welding companies, anybody that needs docks and drive-in doors, I think it would be a really great space for. It's industrial zoning, so you can really do most things there, even like towing or anything like that. I think it'd be good. And no, every property's you don't know. You just don't know
yeah,
who's going to go where. I mean, I'm in the middle of a lease with a company that does, safety equipment. You just don't know what people do. That's one of the other things that's so interesting about commercials is how people, the types of businesses that are out there. You scratch your head and go, how did you get into, you know, like the guy that took the space that you were kind of mentioning, we were looking for a brewer, was a non-alcoholic wine. It's just like,
okay,
it's so cool. Like, it's just, and then you hear their stories and how they got there and why they're doing what they're doing. And it's very satisfying that there's no rhyme or reason for who goes where, truly.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Interesting. What is your your marketing stack? Like, what are the tools you're using, and what do you think is going to be beneficial for someone else in your position? If you're a real estate investor, or wanting to acquire a property or several properties, what are the tools you're using? CRMs. I know you mentioned that on the one podcast I listened to. You're using Podia. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody needs a CRM, as you know how important those are. Just collecting information about prospects and understanding at what point can you serve them. It's not every day. You know, we make all these dials every day, and rarely is somebody ready to sell that day we call them, but it might take 7, 8, 9 touches until we get the appointment. And even then it might be another year, especially in commercial, where there's not the same motivation in residential, where people necessarily need to sell because you're working with a lot of businesses. You're working with people that are, higher net worth individuals that are like, I'll just sit on it. Like, I don't need to sell this to you. Having a CRM like Podio is important. You don't have to get crazy though. You could just do an Excel sheet, in the
Okay.
beginning. But having some sort of, dialing software, if you're really going to be heavy into dialing, that's like a Mojo dialer. You could use that. In regards to like finding deals, something as simple as like prop stream or batch leads, where you're able to compile lists, and then skip tracing like through a skip genie or a batch skip tracing, where you can compile a big list of properties with those sellers names and addresses, and then skip tracing basically meaning finding their phone number. That does automatically, and then working that. But this is down the road. That's not anything I would do in the beginning at all. And that truly, if it's not something that you're really thinking about full time in, if I was full time right now and I was just starting out, like I was like, all right, I'm just gonna make this work, I'd be just driving for dollars, and I'd be on the county website, and I would go to I'd be doing foils, vacant properties or properties that are not code compliant, and I would be talking to town officials and code officers and making friends and walking into town halls and just saying, hey, I'm buying properties out this way. I want to take these problem properties off your hands, or if there's, you know, properties that are not performing tax wise, I want to be able to get them performing tax wise, and all those things. And I would just sell myself on why they should give me the information I need in order to get in touch with the seller.
You really got to put yourself out there if you want to be successful in the real estate investing game. That's for sure, huh?
Yeah, you got to be willing to just muddy through it and get better
Definitely.
at talking to people. Yeah, no, I mean, it's not drop shipping, right? I mean, it's not like it's not like you can just hide behind a wall and figure it out. Like, you really got to go out there and talk to people if you want to find good deals. Like, if you just want to be like everybody else and go on the MLS and try to find something on Zillow, yeah, that's a red ocean. But if you want to go in a blue ocean of like, I got all this open space, which is only where I want to be, then you're going to go off market and you're going to talk to people and try to find stuff that's got a bunch of hair on it, just stuff that's like, just, it's a little icky, and stuff that's like, this is a weird spot to be in. That's value add. A lot of people think they want value add stuff until you walk into a property with a dead body.
Dude, have you guys done any deals in Buffalo?
No, no. But we have looked at stuff. We've looked at warehouses and stuff out in Buffalo.
Do you know
Obviously, we're
where?
out. Yeah, Military Road was
Oh,
one
yeah.
of them.
Okay.
We were very close in negotiation about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, on a property that had the Plato's Closet in it. I don't know where that is. I can't remember what road that is, but big
Okay.
Plato's Closet. But yeah, no, we're open. We love Buffalo. We'd love to get something out there. We will get something out there. It's just a matter of time. And but yeah, no, we're still working in our backyard of Rochester and figuring it out. And we love figuring it out and learning what we can learn, and just trying to get better.
What's your analysis of the downtown Rochester landscape, and like, what do you think? Like, what has to be done to move the needle on getting more density, more activity? I'm sure a lot of it applies to Buffalo as well.
It comes down to just we don't have a lot of population. We don't have people moving here. That's
Right.
we don't have
Yeah.
job. We don't have jobs. I mean, that's just
Jobs,
what it all is.
companies
Yeah.
downtown. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's really all it is. It's just we don't have jobs. You don't have a Microsoft. We don't have like a giant corporation that's here, that's coming here. And obviously they're not going to come here because of just state laws and regulations and everything else. So it's tough, man. It really is. It's really tough. And the only thing you can kind of see solace in is maybe that's the climate that will bring people here. Maybe
Yeah,
it's the
yeah, yeah.
Great Lakes that will bring people here when all the water is a shortage and, it's 100 degrees, 365 days a year in Phoenix and, the flooding that constantly is happening in North Carolina and South Carolina, those people might be coming back. So yeah, that's really the only thing I could see that would bring people back here. I mean, I do have a thesis that will bring people here is climate change, and that's great, but it's not it's not going to change until there's some massive. We have to go through a lot of pain until there's going to be some change.
No, I've seen that. I've heard that it like Buffalo's always on like the top 10 lists of like climate havens.
Yeah,
So maybe who knows how far down the road that's going to actually take action though, but it's good to know we're on that list.
yeah. We're right by the clean water, and we got a lot of power. We got a decent amount of power, and we got a lot of space, and we do have the infrastructure. We got a lot of colleges and great hospitals. It just got to figure it
Yeah.
out.
Hell yeah. Nice, man. Well, anything else you want to plug?
No, that's it. I appreciate you having me on. I gotta run here because my wife's going to work. She's working the night shift. She's a nurse, so I gotta
Nurse?
get home and get it figured out with our son. But no, this is great, Kyle. You do a great job, man. You're gonna crush it.
Oh, thanks, man. Means a lot coming from you. I appreciate it.
You bet, man. Thanks for
All
having me
right.
on.
Thanks, Marty. Appreciate it,
All
bud.
right, bro. Take care.